you're all well. Today I am here to talk to you about the best of the rest, some honourable mentions for the rest of 2023. So these are 12 books that I absolutely loved that didn't quite make it to my top 10 of the year, but I still think deserve a mention because I really truly enjoyed them and I'm still thinking about them today. So I thought we could go through them all. There are 12 of them here. I'm going to do my best not to get too deep into what the story is about, otherwise we'll be here all day and this video will be longer than my best books of the year. Obviously I just wanted to mention them quite quickly, but I did also want to preface this video with the fact that I am quite poorly at the moment. I am full of a cold. So just if I sound nasally, that is literally why. I wasn't going to film this today, however I could really do with doing so, and I have just, well, about an hour and a half ago took some cold and flu tablets and I am feeling a little bit more perked up, so I thought I better come upstairs and get this done before I go back on a downward trajectory and just get it done while I'm feeling a little bit better. So my apologies for being nasally and sniffly and shit. So all of these books are 5-star reads. There are other 5-star reads I've had this year, but I don't know, I feel like these are my honourable mentions. I feel like they need to be mentioned because they're books I cannot stop thinking about since I read them this year. So we are going to start off with a more recent one, which is actually Tales from the Forest, which is a Winnie the Pooh book by Jane Riordan and illustrations by Matt Burgess. I love Winnie the Pooh and I love that someone is continuing on with these books since obviously A.A. Milne is no longer with us, and continuing to keep the nostalgia alive for those of us that really enjoy Winnie the Pooh. I really like this. I gave it 5 stars, obviously. It got a 9.29 on Core Pile, so it just missed out on the best of the year. Not the best book of the year, but in the top 10. And I really love this. I only read it recently, just in December, and I had a fantastic time with it, and I'm so happy that we are continuing to get books with Winnie the Pooh featured, and even new characters featured as well, which is really good fun and a great time. So I really love this one and I would highly recommend it. The illustrations in here as well is still absolutely beautiful. Despite the fact that they're no longer done by E.H. Shepard, who is the original illustrator of Winnie the Pooh. But I truly enjoy this and I would recommend, if you are a fan of Winnie the Pooh at all, picking some of these books up. They're so good. I have like a whole collection. I don't know if you can, just right there, that is my Winnie the Pooh collection. I do have more, but most of them are there, and I absolutely love this. So yeah, would highly recommend this one. This was the top for this category, best of the rest. I probably should have gone bottom down, but bottom up, sorry, never mind, it doesn't matter. They're just honourable mentions, it does not matter. Then also with a 9.29 from Core Pile, we have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I am so mad at myself for not continuing on with this series. I have all of the books in this series and I'm really annoyed with myself for not having yet finished the series. I should have done by now. I've only read the first one and I need to sort my shit out and get on with the other two. This does follow Knox and also Naomi. It is set in a small town and Naomi is basically coming to help out her twin sister. Now when she arrives in town, it turns out they are identical twins. It turns out her twin sister has caused a lot of problems within the town for everybody involved, especially Knox, and she's getting a lot of dirty looks, she's getting a lot of bad comments and stuff, and she's like, I don't understand what's going on here, until she bumps into Knox and realizes that he thinks she's her twin sister. So they come, you know, she tells him, I'm not my twin sister, I'm nothing like my twin sister, what is going on? Blah blah blah. It turns out her twin sister's got a daughter who is, I can't remember how old the daughter is, but she's, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11, if not a little bit older, and her twin sister, Naomi's twin sister, ends up leaving her daughter with Naomi, and Naomi's like, what the fuck? I've literally just met this girl, I didn't even know I had a niece, and now I have to look after her, what is going on? Knox does inevitably end up helping her out and a romance ends up blossoming, and it's truly a beautiful story and I absolutely love this. It was so good. It still lives in my head rent free, and I'm really annoyed at myself for not continuing on with the series because I know I'm going to love it. So I must do that. I must prioritise those books next year, early on next year as well, because I do have some more now from Lucy Score as well. So yeah, I really love this one. Honourable mention for this one. Next, with another 9.25 from Core Pile, we do have Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shea Earnshaw. I have had this on my shelves for the longest time, and I finally picked it up during October this year. And this was such a good time. I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. I truly love that movie. The first time I ever watched that movie was years ago, and the first time I ever watched it, I wasn't a fan. And I was really surprised at why everybody's obsessed with it. Then I watched it again a few months later, and I was like, okay, I understand now. I get it. And now I watch it all the time, and I truly love that movie. It's so good. And this was such a fun time. I loved being back with the characters, and I loved following Sally more so than Jack this time, because obviously in the movie we follow Jack more, but in this one you are following Sally more. And essentially it follows straight on from Nightmare Before Christmas. Jack and Sally have gotten married, and they went on a little honeymoon. They came back very quickly, and now Jack is completely throwing himself into Halloween again, and Sally's just feeling, she's now deemed the Pumpkin Queen, and she's just feeling like she's not herself anymore. She's not enjoying her time anymore. She's not enjoying her life anymore. She's literally the Pumpkin Queen, Jack's wife, and that is it. She's no longer Sally, and she's feeling like she's lost a part of her identity, and it's really good. It's basically just a story of her trying to find herself again whilst also being the Pumpkin Queen and Jack's wife, and it was really good. I just had a really good time with it. It was fantastic. So yeah, really enjoyed this one, and obviously it got 5 stars, 9.29 on Core Pile, not 2.5. And then the last one that got a 9.29 on Core Pile was Lost in the Moment and Found by Shauna Maguire. I love the Wayward Children series. Some of them, a lot of them have gotten 5 stars, but not all of them. In fact, actually, that might be a lie. I think Beneath the Sugar Sky got 5 stars from me, and then I think the rest have gotten like 4 to 4.5 stars. This got a resounding 5 stars. I absolutely love this one. I feel like this one took it to a whole new level, because there is definitely a darker element to this as far as like real life is concerned, not just the portal magic. If you don't know what the Wayward Children series is about, I don't know where you've been, but it's essentially portal magic, and these children always find doors to other worlds, and it's following them on their journey either within that world or coming back to the real world and joining Eleanor West's Home for Children, where they can recover from being in their world, wait for the door to open again, try and get used to being back in the real world again because they want to stay and not go back to the portal world. And in this one we are following Antoinette, who's lost her father quite early on in this story, and her mum ends up obviously finding someone new and remarrying. There is a new sibling involved, and she ends up feeling like she's being kind of pushed out of the family a little bit, but almost not as well, because her stepfather is now paying her attention she doesn't want, and she runs away. She ends up finding herself in this shop, and it's essentially kind of like a lost and found shop, and she ends up staying there. And it's just a beautiful story with almost like a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking element to it that kind of ends with, I don't know how to explain it. It was just such a beautiful story, and I feel like Shauna Maguire took it to the next level with this one. I really loved it, and it's my favourite in the series so far. I am very excited for the next one, Mislaid something in Parts Half Known or whatever it's called. Really excited for that one because it's got dinosaurs in it, and I love dinosaurs, but this one, beautiful, absolutely loved it. Then with 9.21 we have another recent read, and that is Love Like Farms by BK Borison. I loved this. This was fantastic. It is a best friends to lovers trope with basically he's a data analyst, Luca, and Stella owns a Christmas tree farm. Now, in order to try and save the Christmas tree farm, because it is going under a little bit, in order to try and save the Christmas tree farm, she's applied for this competition, and she has said that she runs the Christmas tree farm with her boyfriend. Now, she's won the competition, but she doesn't have a boyfriend. So she's asked her best friend Luca if he would step in as her fake boyfriend in order to get through this competition so that she can, you know, help the farm. He agrees, and they start to realize that, you know, their friendship may not be as platonic as they thought it was, and it's just beautiful. I absolutely love this. I think the reason why I love this so much is that I saw a lot of my own relationship in this with these two, because we are also best friends to lovers with our relationship, and I think I just seem to always see a lot of my relationship in those types of books these days, and I love that. I connect with the characters very, very well, and I seem to understand, even if there is like a miscommunication side of it, I seem to understand that quite a lot, albeit me and him have never, we struggle with miscommunication these days, but we never, in those days back when we were friends, I was always very honest with him about how I felt about him. So we never really struggled with miscommunication like that. Sometimes that doesn't happen in these books. But this, loved it. It had the Christmas vibes, small town vibes, the best friends to lovers, adorable, absolutely beautiful. I loved this book. It was such a good time. So I would highly recommend, and I'm very excited to pick up more from BK Borison into the In the Weeds and Mixed Signals. And they've got a new one coming out next year as well. So really excited about that. Then with 9.14, we have the last in a series. I really hope K.A. Tucker goes back to this series because I loved it. We have Running Wild by K.A. Tucker. I just love this series. The Wild series is absolutely incredible. So in this series, in the beginning of the series, in The Simple Wild, the first book in the series, we follow Calla and Jonah. Calla lives with her mum and stepdad, and she ends up getting a call from a woman who, basically her mum took her away from Alaska when she was 2 years old. She wanted to live on the mainland. She didn't want to live in Alaska anymore. However, her husband, Calla's dad, wanted to stay in Alaska because he had a very successful business there. So he stayed, they left, they split up. And Calla's never really seen her dad ever since. So she ends up getting a call one day from a mysterious woman saying, Calla, your dad's unwell, would you be able to come over to Alaska and see him? He would really like to see you. So she makes the decision to go. However, her dad had no idea that she was coming. He never asked for her. This woman is a friend of his and has kind of meddled, if you like, because I think she knows how much he misses her, but he won't ever ask for help. So she goes over to kind of reconnect with her dad. First person she meets is this guy called Jonah, who ends up flying her to like the part where she's staying from like the mainland, and they immediately start off not well. And it's basically about her and her relationship with her dad, and then her and her relationship with Jonah that's building up as well, but also building this relationship in the community as well. And it's such a beautiful story, and similarly her relationship with her mum and stepdad as well. And it's so beautiful. In this one we actually go on to follow veteran Marie Leah, who has unrequited love for Jonah, who is her best friend, and obviously we follow that story, and then in this one we start to follow her a little bit more, and it was so good. I just truly love this series. It was very, very good. I feel like this is one that I could reread again as well, and it's not very often that when we continue to follow, I do usually prefer companion novels to continuing to follow a relationship through several books, on the basis that sometimes they've never really gone the way I expect them to. Sometimes I get to the end of the book and I'm like, I want to know more about this couple, I want to know more about this relationship, what happens next. And then sometimes I get that book and I'm like, I'm not interested anymore because they're together. Like the exciting part for me is them getting together. However, with this series, I truly did enjoy continuing to follow them and the things that they got up to and the other relationships they built and people they met and friends they made and stuff. I really enjoyed that, and them growing together as well as a couple. It was really, really good. So really enjoyed this one. Very, very good. I kind of went on a little bit about that one, my apologies. And with a 9.14, we do have The Burning God by R.F. Kuang, which is the second book in the Poppy War trilogy. Oh no, this is the third book, sorry, the third book in the Poppy War trilogy. And this one is The Poppy War trilogy essentially starts off following Rin, who is a very young girl, and she ends up going to the, is it a war college kind of thing? She goes into the military and she ends up going out to war. Now this story is very bleak. It is very dark, and I would check your triggers, because in the first book it got very, very shocking. There was a section that was incredibly shocking, and it continues to do that. But this story is such a beautiful story, and I really, really love it. I love R.F. Kuang's writing style in this series. I know I have previously mentioned yesterday in my most disappointing that Babel is one of my most disappointing books of the year, but this series nailed it for me. I absolutely loved it, and I finally finished it this year, and I'm so proud of myself. But I truly loved this series. This was very, very good. I love the world building, I love the writing style, I love the characters. I was so invested in this story. It was such a good story, and I feel like it's one that I could read again, because I feel like I would pick up more the second time round maybe. So I would really love to read this one again, but obviously I'm not going to do that anytime soon. I've got a fuck ton of other books I need to get to, but this, outstanding, fantastic, so happy I've finished it. Then with a 9.0 we do have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I've banged on about this book loads this year. I truly love this. I wasn't a huge fan of The Knife of, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. Constantly got that, I don't even think that's the title, that I've never letting go or something. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, I truly love this. I gave 3 stars to In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and then I've had a real massive letdown, which I mentioned to you again yesterday, by Ashley Winstead. But this one, 5 stars. It was so fucking good. We are following a woman called Shay Evans, and when she was in college in New York, she met a captivating man who seduced her and her best friends in a web of lies about the way the world works, bringing them under his thrall. By senior year, Shay and her friend Laurel were the only ones who managed to escape now. But then she hears the news of Laurel's death, horrifying death as well, by way of her favourite podcast. She actually asked the help of this podcaster to go with her and try and find out what the fuck happened to Laurel, and exactly what happened to her back in the day as well, while she was at college. This was incredible. I loved the podcast element. The audiobook was fantastic. I love a podcast element in a thriller, and the audiobooks are always done really, really well. It's like it's an art form. It's incredible. They always bring them to life, and this one was no exception. It was so, so good. I would recommend the audiobook if you're going to do this one, but it was really, really good. The twists and turns, it got very, very dark, and it was really interesting, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend. It was so good. Then again, with 9.0 we have How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I loved this. It was so good. I had a fantastic time. I was creeped out with this story, let me tell you. It was really freaky, and it terrified me, I'm not gonna lie. It was a really good time following Louise and her brother Mark. Yeah, oh my god, how did I just remember that? Following Louise and her brother Mark. Essentially we're following Louise more so, and she's very close to her parents. Mark is kind of like the black sheep of the family a little bit, and one day she gets a phone call to say that her parents have died in a car accident, and she's absolutely heartbroken. She goes to her parents' home, she meets up with Mark, and they have to make a decision on what to do with the house, and they decide that they're going to sell it. However, her parents had this really creepy collection of dolls, and things start going bump in the night in this house, and they need to figure out what the fuck is going on. And this story was so creepy. I've got chills now just thinking about it. So creepy. I think with horror, it all depends on what freaks you out personally. So for me, clowns, spiders, dolls, children in horror books should not belong, and it terrifies me, but that freaks me out. So this really got under my skin to the point that I could no longer read it in the night time anymore. in the dark. I couldn't do it. It was really freaking me out. But I had such a great time with this one. I thought it was fantastic. I know this is going to show up on a lot of people's most disappointing, because I know there's a lot of people that didn't like this one, but I thought it was really, really good. I had a fantastic time. Next, with 9.0, we have the second in a series I've already mentioned to you, which is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. I read the second and third one this year. I actually forgot I did that. I'm not gonna lie. I actually forgot I did that because it was earlier on this year, and I think I read them pretty much back to back. But I'm so proud of myself. I've already mentioned this. I'm so proud of myself for finishing this series. I'm really, really happy. And I'm so thrilled that I managed to get my hands on the Illumicrate set as well, because these are stunning. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this one. I've already mentioned it with The Burning God, so I'll just mention it very quickly again. This also, in my best of the rest, it was so, so good. Last two. Next we have The Adventures of Mina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I fucking loved this. This was so good. And so far, I'm yet to find a book by S.A. Chakraborty that has let me down, because I loved the Daemabad trilogy. This was so fucking good. It was so good. We're following Amina, who is she's essentially like a retired pirate, but she ends up in a situation with her granddaughter, I think, or something, where she needs to go back out on another mission, and she has to bring the band back together and get out on this mission. I think she's like in her 60s or something, and it's so fucking good. I love to follow an older character. It just makes my heart so happy, and this book did exactly that. It was such a good time. I was terrified that I would get seasickness with the seafaring in this, but I didn't. It was really, really good. Written so incredibly well. The world building was fantastic, and I'm very excited for the next one in this series. I can't wait to continue on with it. I just loved it, and I will never be mad about the fact that I will need to reread this when the second one comes out again, because it was just such a good time. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm not going to lie. It was fantastic, and I really, really loved it. Also, the map in here is just stunning. There is Amina herself. Just a fantastic time. It was hilarious. I had a lot of fun with it. It was really, really good. Very heartwarming. S.A. Chakraborty can do no wrong. Nice going, Shannon. And then last but by no means least, I just really wanted to mention this one, because honestly the whole deal with this book was totally on a whim. And I love when that happens. So I had never heard of this author before, never heard of this book before. I went on to the Rare Facebook page because I'd completely missed out on tickets to go to Rare in Edinburgh next year, which is a romance festival. And I totally missed out on tickets for it. Becca reminded me the following day, and I completely missed the tickets. I think they sold out in like 7 minutes flat or something. So I went on the Facebook page so that I could keep my eyes open for anybody selling tickets. And while I was there, over the next couple of days, I noticed that authors would drop in and be like, oh, does anybody fancy an arc of my book, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this author, Kylie Kent, ended up asking did anybody want to read her book in advance before it comes out and be part of the street team. So I had a quick look at the synopsis and I was like, okay, this sounds right up my street. A hockey romance with a mafia element? Sign me up. So anyway, I got the book 5 o'clock, I think it was, on the Friday morning, and I had finished it by 5:30 on Saturday morning. I hadn't read it the whole day. I literally went to bed at, I think it was about 11:30 or something, and started the book, and I couldn't put it down. I read right through the night. I stayed up all night reading. I haven't done that in such a long time. Stayed up all night reading. I couldn't stop. And it's not very often that I will stay up reading all night, especially on my Kindle, because it does give me a migraine. So I fucking love this book. It was Breakout by Kylie Kent, and it was so good. A hockey mafia romance. I didn't know how those two things would come together and work out, but they did, and it was so freaking good. You've probably heard me banging on about this since I read it. I just couldn't stop, and I'm really excited for the next one in the series to come out, but I've also bought one of her other ones as well. I think it's called Devilish King, which follows another mafia family, but we did get some of them in here, the Valentino family I think it is. This one's following Liam, who obviously plays for a hockey team, and Elia. Elia's dad runs the hockey team, but Elia's dad is also a mafia boss. Liam comes into the hockey team after being fired from his last one for hitting his coach, for reasons. He comes into the new hockey team. Elia's brother plays on the team as well, and the team aren't too happy about having him there because he is a little bit of a rebel. He doesn't like to be told what to do, but he's a fantastic player, and Elia's dad thinks that he could get them to the actual final. They always manage to get there and then fucking fail at the end. So anywho, we all kind of, this all happens, and then Elia's dad says that she needs to babysit Liam to make sure that he doesn't fuck this up, because one wrong move and he is out of the team, but they need him. So she ends up babysitting Liam, and it doesn't go too well to start off with, but from that point on, absolutely loved this. I was so addicted. It was so good, and I truly, truly loved it. If you romance girlies, you are gonna love this one, let me tell you. I would highly recommend checking it out. It was very, very good. So I'm very excited for the next one in the series, and I cannot wait. It needed a mention. It needed to be in here. So that was the last one for my honourable mentions. There were other 5-star reads for me this year, but I didn't want to mention everything. We would have been here all day. And I just wanted to mention the ones that still stuck in my head and, you know, I think about regularly. And so that's what I did. But yeah, chat to me in the comments down below. Have you read any of these? Do you agree or disagree with me on any of these? I loved all of these books. They were so fucking good. And do you have an honourable mention that immediately comes to mind for you for the year? It wasn't necessarily in your best books of the year, but it's something that you still can't stop thinking about, and had something else not been on your best books, that probably would have made it, because these were all in that situation. But yeah, chat to me in the comments down below. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and tomorrow you have my January TBR to look forward to, so buckle up, because that was a wild freaking ride. And I shall see you in tomorrow's video. Bye for now.